Welcome to another restorative practice. Today we are going to work with a lot of heart opening postures throughout our class, and a lot of kind of going within postures. So it's going to be a lot of sort of cat-cow sort of supported poses for the spine. I would recommend having maybe some blocks, and definitely either a bolster, a studio bolster, or some kind of substitute. That could be bed pillows, it could be a stack of rectangularly folded blankets, anything that will kind of mimic this rectangular shape and firmness. So to begin our class today, we're going to take a child's pose, and we're going to take a supported version of that. So for me, that's going to look like bringing a bolster or bolster substitute to one side and bringing the knees to either side of this bolster. If you also have some blocks or some block substitutes, you can place some kind of support underneath your sitting bones. This will kind of bring a little strain off of the knees and the ankles. You could also have a rolled towel kind of in this space here underneath the fronts of the ankles. Second block might be used for a forehead support if you would like to use it that way as well. And we're basically going to just bring hands to the top of our support and find first that cat shape in the spine before lowering down. So you can see here how we could either take this sort of position, or if it's more comfortable for your body, you could also support the forehead with the block as well. But what we don't want to see if you're using some kind of support is the chest coming this way. We want it to still be inward. This could also be used to kind of heighten underneath the ribs to increase that round shape in the spine. So any of those options can work for this child's pose. And as you begin to deeply settle into your pose, feel what this shape is teaching your body. Feel yourself being supported and allowing yourself to be supported. Feel the natural inclination to be looking inward, focusing inward rather than outward. Take a few deep and cleansing breaths in the shape. Each inhale expanding the back body and the back of the heart. Each exhale allowing you to soften, surrender, become more humble. Child's pose indicates that we are coming back to that child mindset, that beginner's mind that has no prior assumptions. And these are things that we can let go as we breathe out. Not only the weight of our body letting go into our support, but letting go of our preconceived notions, our own individual perspectives. Letting go and breathing out any limitation. Beginning to merge ourselves fully into that wholeness that is our true identity. Just as we allow our body to soften into the support of the earth, we can also allow our mind to merge itself with that greater consciousness. We can allow the capacity of our heart for love and compassion to merge into that fuller picture of love. The concept of the divine as love itself. The sutras tell us that we can find that calm and centered way of being through slow, easeful exhalations. See if you can invite that kind of breathing in here. notice also over time how your body might be changing shape within this pose. How different supports might need to be shifted a little. How the placement of the feet or the hips or the shoulders or the head might need to be gently adjusted to soften in a greater way. Let your breath guide you to any adjustments you might want to make. And see if you can practice the subtle and beautiful art of just being, letting go of effort, letting go of ideas of how the pose should look or should feel. Just being with this shape in the moment, letting this pose itself be the teacher, letting your breath be the teacher. Feel the length of your spine moving toward your back body. Feel the expansion happening between the shoulder blades and along the length of the spine from tailbone to crown. Make any adjustments that allow the back of your neck to be a little longer, a little more open, a little more space between the base of your skull and your shoulders. And feel how safe and protected you feel in this pose. Reducing the influence of the outside world. Bringing peace and calm to your mind by focusing inward. Letting the body relax and letting the mind actively seek truth. Notice if there's an urge to move the placement of your hands or arms. Perhaps you'd like to take a few breaths with an active stretch in the arms, reaching for the top of the mat. Perhaps you'd like to settle the shoulders a little softer and a little bit more broadly by bringing hands back by the ankles. Just letting the tops of your arms and shoulders rest near the thighs. Maybe within this pose, there's a gentle adjustment of pulling right shoulder away from right hip, and then relaxing. Pulling and expanding the left shoulder away from the left hip, and then relaxing. Perhaps the chin could tuck a little closer to the heart to reiterate that internal focus. Just because we've released the noise and distraction of the outside world doesn't mean there's nothing within to see or find. Notice where your mind goes. Notice any feelings or sensations that happen in the heart. Notice how after several minutes in this pose, the body has relaxed a little bit more. Or perhaps there's some new tension that wasn't there or wasn't noticed when we first began the shape. Take another few rounds of those deeper, longer breaths. Each inhale, expanding the heart at the back of the body, expanding the length of the spine from tailbone to crown, pushing that length toward the back body. Each exhale, allowing you to soften, to let go, to breathe out any hindrances, to release yourself from any individuality, and allow yourself to be empowered through merging with wholeness. recognizing that wholeness within your heart. And once you've taken a few of those breaths, just again allowing yourself to soften. Let go to the pose. Allow the pose to teach your body. Allow the body to teach the heart. And the heart to teach the mind. Until all of you is in alignment with self, capital S, self. Become innocent like the child. Become filled with wonder and amazement at life, at love. So if you can maintain your smooth breath, your soft ease for another minute or so. Scan the body. Where can you let go? Follow the breath. Where could it be smoother, slower, more relaxed?
And it's time to come out of this pose, turning the palms downward and pressing our way back up.
If you're using any kind of support underneath the hips, you can pull that out from where it is. And we're going to bring the legs in front of the body and the bolster behind the body. So you can do this by either moving the bolster behind you or simply turning the body so that one hip is placed on the short edge of your support. We're going to move into deer legs here. So that could look like one knee kind of in the round shape of the front foot. It could also look like one knee stacked on top of the other, or even a more wide stance where the back knee has some space between the front foot. So any of those options can work nicely. Before we find our actual twisting shape, we're going to bring the left hand, or the hand that's closest to the bolster, just to the edge of the bolster, and just gently turn the right ear towards the right shoulder, kind of creating a long line of stretch and expansion from the wrist to the bottom of the ear. Softening the breath as we experience those feelings of expansion. And releasing that lean, coming back to a more upright, looking forward over the shoulder, past the edge of our support, and then bringing a hand to each side, taking a nice big breath in to lift and open the front body. And as we exhale, lowering the torso down onto our support. Now, knees and nose can face the same direction. They could also face the opposite direction from one another, depending on what's most comfortable and sustainable for your body. These deer twists offer us opportunities to open to new directions. Just like our child's pose, we're sort of relaxed and leaning forward, so sort of softening our heart forward, allowing the heart itself to be supported. I'd like for you to pay special attention to the hips and seeing if there's any tension or holding there. There's usually some kind of almost protective tension that happens in the hips when we twist the shoulders in the opposite direction of the hips. See if you can soften there. This might mean you make an adjustment to the placement of your legs. This might mean that you scoot that bottom hip a little forward or a little back, or slightly change the tilt of the pelvis here. See if you can find a place where you can fully let go, releasing all tension in the belly. Just allow the belly to sort of fall open towards the floor, broadening that space, softening that space. This area just below the ribs is where the sort of personal power or willpower is. And right now we're just softening that, letting go of how we think we should feel about any particular situation. Just allowing our hearts to be open. Notice also the placement of your hands. Perhaps you don't know what to think and could use some grounding or establishment, maybe palms turning down for that sense of grounding. Maybe you've had a long idea and it's no longer serving you. Maybe turning palms up to receive, to allow a new idea to come into your heart. Maybe we just simply turn the palms up to offer ourselves, to allow our minds to be opened, our hearts to be opened. That ease in letting go, finding that establishment through the hips, relaxing. Just like the sutras tell us, letting our breath be long, slow exhalations to bring peace and centeredness to the mind. Even as we feel this sort of opposition between the heart and the hips, or the shoulders and the hips, feeling sort of that being of two minds, and just allowing that central channel from root to crown to be aligned, centered, balanced, supported, and even. Letting one more breath pass in and out through the body. And then bringing the palms again to press along either side of your support to press upward. And turning the whole body so that now the sacrum is kind of resting up against the short edge of your support. Letting the body recline backwards this time. This will create a little bit of compression in the low back, so feel free to lift and lower a few times to find the right amount of compression. Soles of the feet can stay resting on the floor and knees fall together. Or you could take the opposite approach, bringing the soles of the feet to face one another and the knees to fall open. Arms can rest down by your side. They could alternatively come up and above the head, kind of in a little diamond shape from armpit to wrist. So any of these options could work well. This open-hearted pose is the exact opposite of our child's pose. Whereas we sort of felt tucked into ourselves and safe, our focus inward in child's pose. Now we are laid bare, open through the heart, vulnerable. Feel the space between the bottom of your ribs and the top of your pubic bone broaden. Again, let the belly just be soft and open. Let your body take up as much space as feels comfortable for you. Feel gravity pulling the shoulders over the sides of your support, lifting the heart. I often say in these reclined heart-opening poses how it feels as though the heart is on a pedestal. It's on a little bit lifted ground, the way we do when we place something in a place of honor. And just allowing the heart itself to be lifted. And even in this vulnerability, even in this openness, allow yourself to let go. Allow yourself to be humbled by the great capacity you have in your heart for love. Moving beyond your individual ability for compassion, your individual ability for patience. And again, allowing yourself to merge with that greater love of the divine. Letting your heart be open, lifted, and still feeling that sense of groundedness all along the length of the spine and in the sitting bones. If you're
soles of your feet are on the floor, again, finding grounding there. If it's just the pinky edges of your feet against the floor as you rest in this pose. Find a sense of grounding, all the places where your body is supporting. If your knees are together, again, just soften and relax. Let go of any tension in the muscles. If your knees are wide and open, just allow gravity to draw the knees downward. Feel any sensations of expansion that might be happening in the pelvis or the inner thigh. Just let yourself be opened. Create space within yourself to receive that capacity for love, that capacity for compassion. As we merge our individual selves, as we breathe out our individual hindrances, our individual ideas, our individual opinions, we merge with that greater self. It allows us to move beyond our own capacity. This is the truth about who you are, that openness, that vastness, that infinite compassion, infinite intelligence, infinite surrender, infinite malleability, that openness to new ideas, letting your heart be as broad as you can be. And just breathing in that nourishing breath and letting it flow back out, carrying with it anything that needs healing.
Depending on how you've chosen to arrange your legs and feet, if you're not already soles of the feet on the floor, maybe drawing the knees back together to come back into that shape. Arms could be used to help support the body as you rise back up to seated, and then turning into our other deer twist. So the opposite hip now coming to the short edge of your bolster. Deer legs, again, that might look like the back knee kind of falling into the arch. It might look like the legs more stacked, or it might look like more space between the knee and the front foot. And again, placing the one hand on top of your support and just kind of leaning away from the support in the neck so that the neck is opening from side to side, and also that there's a long line of stretch or expansion energy from the bottom of the ear all the way down to the wrist. Coming back to an upright place, looking forward over that front shoulder, and bringing a hand to either side of your support, taking a nice big inhale to open the front body, and exhaling to release the torso down to your support. Again, nose can be facing the same direction as the knees or the opposite direction, and feel free to move freely between those two options.
Just as in our last twist, we're starting to feel that sense of opposition between the shoulders and the hips, that sense of being twisted up inside or having an opposition within. This, of course, we see reflected in the world around us, this opposition, divisiveness, one side or the other. And it can feel and come along with strong sensations, just as it does in a twist in the body. The secret of twists is to allow, not to force, not to push, not to make your body go deeper into opposition, but to allow the body to soften into a sense of equilibrium. To feel the integrity of the spine from root to crown, soft, aligned, established. No matter which direction the heart is facing, which direction the body is facing, which direction the gaze or the face is facing. Feeling that sense of central alignment, the truth about who we are, never changing. No matter what our external circumstances are, we always have that retreat and coming back to the center of ourselves. Twists also always remind me of Pratipaksha Bhavanam, the ability to cultivate the opposite point of view. And we took our one twist, and now we're taking the other side, getting a sense of balance, getting a sense of fairness, getting a sense of vastness, and our ability to comprehend all kinds of situations. This is the first step toward compassion, is to develop that sense of empathy, to see things from another's point of view, until we start to realize that this other person or this other group of people maybe isn't as different from ourselves than we originally thought. And that's when we come back to that unity, that balance within ourselves. Feel, again, the position of the hips. Maybe they need to be tilted a little forward or back. Maybe we need to soften the gluteal muscles and just allow that bottom hip to sink down into the support of the earth. And even though we might feel twisted or knotted up inside over certain things, when we let go and we soften into the situation and accept that this is the place where we are, our stress level reduces, our breath returns to softness, our heartbeat slows. It's by taking these steps that we can then see things with a calmer perspective, seeing things from that place of establishment, of the central part of who we are. Soften now into that twist. Let it teach you, just as we allowed child's pose to teach us. Allow these twists to either side to teach you. What lesson is coming up for you today in this twist, in this moment, this breath? Be flexible in your outer position. Be firmly established in the truth of your centeredness. Let the breath guide you. Let the pose teach you. Wait for the moment where the twist no longer feels like opposition, but of willingness, openness, and ease.
Placing palms down on either side of your support. Inhaling to press the body back upright, and again, untwisting the body to face away from your bolster. Maybe just taking a moment to twist to either side. Before turning again to face our bolster. There's a couple of options for our forward fold that we can take. One would be to bring the legs wide on either side of your bolster support. Perhaps blocks could be useful here, either to angle the support so that it's a little closer to the head. So this would be one option that we could take, is more like this shape. You could also choose to bring the legs closer together. This would be a little bit more intense stretch on the hamstrings, but bringing the heels closer to one another and the bolster on top of the legs. This could also be angled a little bit as well. This is also a little bit more high support, which might be more comfortable for your body too. So feel free to experiment with different options as you fall back into your chin to chest, cat back, fold over your support.
And in this way, we return back to sort of a child's pose-like shape in the body. You can start to feel that expansiveness through the back of the heart, that focus inward. Let your breath be slow. Let your breath be even. Maybe even intentionally slowing the breath down. For a long, full breath in to feel that sense of expansion at the back of the heart. And those long, slow, and complete breaths out to release yourself. Any burdens, any hindrance, any heavy thoughts. As you feel that exhale flowing out of the body, let go of any heavy feelings in the heart. And notice how as you take that next nourishing breath in, that sense of expansion at the back of the heart also carries with it a little sense of lift. So So even as we surrender forward, even as we allow the body to be pulled downward towards the earth, we feel that sense of lift at the back of the heart, expansion. And again, we have that sense of turning away from any outside distractions, letting our focus be inward. Feeling the length and expansion of the spine moving toward the back body, moving away from the front body. Notice over time as the shape begins to teach you if there's any adjustments that could be made to offer deeper ease, to offer more of that sense of inward focus. Notice again where the palms are, the arms. Palms could be facing up for that sense of receptivity or offering. Palms could be down for a sense of grounding. Maybe that grounding feels really good as we feel that connection to the earth from the heels all the way to the sitting bones. Maybe we can allow that sense of grounding to start to work its way up into the upper spine as we soften deeper into the fold. As we allow ourselves to be as supported as we need to be as comfortable as we can in this inward looking. Remember that inward looking is not for everyone. Lots and lots of people spend much of their lives avoiding it. Here we are taking this intentional step to turn inward. And just allow whatever feelings come to come, whatever thoughts come to come. Use your breath to guide your way through that expansiveness, making room within yourself to hold these thoughts and feelings. And then using the exhale to gently, lovingly release those things that are holding you back.
Taking one final full breath into that back body. Big, long, slow exhale as you release. And rising back up to our seated shape. If you have blocks, those could be useful for this next pose. If you're only using a bolster or bolster substitute, that could also work. We're going to basically lift the calves or the heels off of the mat a little ways. So bringing either a sort of Stonehenge type of shape with blocks and your bolster placed on top. The bolster could also just be placed flat on the mat as well. And then lifting or supporting the calves, feet can dangle freely here. We're going to come down to lying on the back. Take a moment to kind of shake out any tension. Maybe allow the knees to fall slightly more open. The arches of the feet might kind of lift a little bit, and the pinky edges of the feet might drop a little as you take this little wider shape. The idea is to be completely relaxed and softened. Feeling the sacrum get heavier and heavier with each exhale. Getting a sense of magnetizing the sacrum down to the earth. Arms might take a Shavasana-like shape down near your sides. Again, we could also take sort of a cactus or a W shape in the arms. You could also, again, find that diamond shape in the arms. Take 3 more breaths, then we're going to take a little side bending shape from here. Remaining anchored in the sacrum, letting the legs be still and heavy. We're going to just walk the shoulders and the head and the heart off to one side of the mat. So anchoring through the sacrum to remain still and steady there. Feet are still soft and relaxed. Opening one side of the body, ideally both shoulders are still anchored to the floor. And taking several rounds of breath in this asymmetrical curved shape.
Feel the heaviness in the pelvis anchoring you. Allowing the body to be at ease, soft. Feeling how the head and the heart are prone to following feelings, to following trains of thought, off in some direction. But how the body always remains rooted in this moment. So if you can trace the line of the spine from the head, from the heart, all the way into the pelvis, reminding ourselves that even as our thoughts and feelings go off on these side tangents, we are always connected to the moment. We can always sort of trace ourselves back to the body, back to the breath, back to the heartbeat, to come back to centeredness. See if you can just observe the mind, observe the feelings, rather than identifying with them.
Moving back towards center, realigning the heart and shoulders and head with the sacrum, which has remained in its position. Taking just a couple of breaths to soften into neutral. Notice the equal weight of each shoulder on the floor.
Feel the contrast of that head and heart kind of floating off to one side and now feeling aligned. Bringing ourselves back. This is sort of the intentional action. Noticing that the head or the heart, the thoughts or the feelings have disquieted us, have pulled us out of balance, and then realizing that we return back to this centered state of being. Feel both shoulders, the center of the sacrum. Feel everything just sinking into the earth. Feel again that sense of merging, not with individual thoughts, individual feelings, but with wholeness. Just as the physical body is relinquishing its weight into that greater body of the earth, the mind has this capacity also to see past our individuality, to begin to think of things in greater senses of consciousness. That our heart can be jealous or angry or bitter in some cases. But as we allow ourselves to merge, we move into that sense of compassion, of wholeness, of empathy. Just allow that feeling to overtake you now as you let go. We're holding in this centered place for at least another minute. We're holding in this centered place for at least another minute to allow it to be a sense of establishment. And we have these periods of time in our lives where we feel aligned, where we let go to it.
And remaining in that anchored and static position through the sacrum, walking head, heart, and shoulders over now to the other side of your mat. And taking several rounds of breath on this side.
And then we get pulled. The mind starts to go off on a tangent. The heart starts to chase after the future or the past or what we wish for, our desires. And oftentimes, because our body is still in this moment, because we are still anchored through the sacrum here, we sometimes don't notice that we've fallen out of alignment. These moments are not times to judge ourselves or to punish or chastise ourselves for falling out of alignment. These are opportunities for awareness. At the beginning of a spiritual journey, we notice suddenly we feel very aligned, and it's a new feeling. After a while, we become accustomed to feeling aligned, and we really only notice when we fall out of alignment. So just notice where you are with that in your life, not to judge or rate yourself, but simply to notice, is normal for you alignment? Or is normal for you feeling out of alignment? What lesson does this pose have to teach you about that today?
When you feel balanced from one side to the other, come back into your neutral alignment where head, heart, and sacrum are all aligned. Feel free to choose a different position for your arms if you like. Feel both shoulders pressing evenly into the floor, both sides of the sacrum evenly pressing into the floor. And begin to relax.
Shavasana at the end of our practice is the ultimate letting go. Feel again that beautiful and familiar sense of alignment. Head, heart, sacrum, all aligned, all giving itself to that greater body of the earth, that greater consciousness, a greater sense of love and empathy. Let your breath take you deeper. Let your breath bring you to calm. Start to awaken your body with deeper, longer, slower breaths. Start to feel awareness back in your individual body. And as the moment feels right, start to bend at the knees, maybe placing your feet on your bolster or down to the earth, maybe lift and lower the sacrum. And then start to pull yourself close, knees coming into your chest, maybe head reaching for the knees, taking this little cannonball shape, and then gently rolling to one side. Allow yourself to take the shape of the seed of potential and pause, again, giving yourself over to the greater body of the earth, that greater mindset, that greater sense of love. Just experiencing that release and letting go. Again, when the moment feels right, start to push yourself up with your top arm. Start to come to a seated position. And return to that sense of surrendering oneself. Let your sitting bones get heavy. The pelvis, again, the anchor of the body, rock solid in this moment. Surrendering yourself. Let your eyes be closed and just feel the breath moving. Feel your aliveness. Feel your connection of your individual self to that greater self. And bring the palms together at the heart center. And we close our practice with this beautiful prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.